The American colonists fought a ferocious war for their freedom. The Canadian colonists, on the other hand, cut ties with Britain in a more plain and peaceful manner. Even though the approach was underwhelmingly peaceful, Canada was undergoing many grave obstacles at the time and was on the verge of collapsing as a whole. Those obstacles can be separated into three main groups: political instability within Canada, a plummeting economy, and threats from the southern neighbors, all of which contributed to the Confederation of Canada. The Legislative Assembly of Canada at the time was poorly formed and very ineffective. The Canadian legislature required a double majority from Canada West and Canada East, but given the contradictory nature of the English Protestants and French Catholics, neither region agreed to cooperate with the other, which resulted in nearly no bill being passed, thus creating a political deadlock. Not only did the flawed nature of the legislature contribute to the deadlock, the governments themselves simply did not exist long enough for anything to be done. 5 governments had resigned in the span of 6 years, with the last one resigning in March 1864. The Governor-General Charles Stanley Monck did attempt to find leaders for the province, but unfortunately no one accepted the position due to its extreme difficulty. Ever since the Act of Union in 1840, the Canadian Legislative Assembly had done very little for its people. Canada was begging for a change. Unfortunately for Canada, the political struggles was not her most major problem, since the severity of political issues did not come close to the plummeting economy. For many decades, Canada's economy depended on exporting grains to Britain. The Corn Laws established in 1815 protected Canadian importation against other competitions. Unfortunately, Canada could not keep up with the high demands for grain from Britain, so Britain took a step closer to free trade and repealed the Corn Laws, thus accepting importation from America, a country that was able to produce grains much more efficiently. The decision greatly benefited Britain, but also heavily damaged the Canadian economy. The trade barriers also prevented commerce between the colonies, which created little opportunities for them to improve their economy. As if that wasn't enough, the Treaty of Reciprocity, an agreement which encouraged trades between Canada and America, was terminated by the Americans in an attempt to pressure Canada into forming a union with the United States. The termination also added tremendous weight to the financial burden. One major project that could easily improve the economy is by connecting the colonies with an intercolonial railway, since it would lower the difficulties of transporting goods across Canada, therefore encouraging trades between the colonies. However, a major project like this is simply not achievable without a main organizer, and no colony wanted to be in charge of something as grand as this. After the attempt to pressure Canada into joining America had failed, the Americans had considered annexing Canada, since the Civil War had just ended and morale was fairly high. The doctrine of manifest destiny was widely popular. Many Americans thought it was their God-given right to own the entire North American continent. The group Fenian Brothers, an Irish nationalist organization based in America, carried out multiple attacks on several regions in Canada throughout the late 1860s. The raids alarmed the Canadian colonies due to their inability to defend themselves as separate regions, which made the idea of Confederation a lot more rational and appealing. An intercolonial railway would be crucial for Canada's defense system, as it would make transportation of soldiers a lot more efficient, but as stated before, no colony wanted to organize this project, but a supreme national government would be the perfect fit for it. Unless the colonists somehow liked the idea of seeing their territories in ruins, they really had no choice but to come together and form a confederation. With the poorly formed, ineffective government, lack of support from Britain, failing economy, and threats of invasion from the United States, the only way to turn things around and rebuild Canada is to form a confederation. Fortunately, the colonies were able to see the bigger picture and ultimately became stronger as one united Canada.